Hey, Motorman here. This was a foggy morning, and I'm going to answer the question, does the Sportster have a high center of gravity? Is it a difficult motorcycle to master at low speeds? Well, you're going to find out. Make sure you watch this to the end because there's a little surprise at the end of this video. You're starting really close to that first cone. Remember,
I'm outside. I'm also more.
I want you way out past that arrow, so, because that gets the bike already in that dip in motion before you even start. If you get really close to it, then it makes your dips a little tougher all the way. Now this rider, this is Linda. I did a video with her, I think about 2 years ago, and I titled it, "This is what being afraid to lean the motorcycle looks like." In other words, it was horrible. One of the worst ever. High fear level. That video got over 1 million hits, by the way. And I gave her 2 private lessons, and then she practiced on her own, and it turned everything around for her. So even the absolute highest fear, worst rider ever, maybe not the worst ever, but right up there in the top 5, can be turned around and do a great job if you're willing to practice. If you got the will, if you want to do it. You can do it. You got the will, I got the way. A couple of weeks ago, this rider came to the class on her own bike, which is a breakout, very long wheelbase, long rake, one of the most difficult motorcycles for low speed handling. In spite of that, she did pretty well. So I decided to put her on a rental Sportster and show her how much easier it is when you have a motorcycle with a fairly short wheelbase and a short rake, and she did much better. This is her 2 weeks ago on her breakout. As you can see, it's a much tougher motorcycle to ride. If you went into the dealership and said, "I want the worst possible bike to handle at low speeds. I want something with a long wheelbase and a long rake and even forward controls that I could barely reach," and they gave her to her. I'm featuring this rider on the Sportster because I've heard from so many people, especially it seems women on the women riders forums. They all say that I've got a Sportster and it's got such a high center of gravity, it wants to tip over all the time. What that really means is you have yet to master the friction zone, the clutch and throttle. If you've mastered the proper use of the clutch and throttle, low speed handling on a Sportster is extremely easy because it's got a short wheelbase, it's got a short rake. It is one of the easiest mid-sized motorcycles to ride. That's why I use it for a rental bike. So high center of gravity, this isn't an adventure tour. That would be a high center of gravity. This is a very low bike and easy to ride if you know the proper techniques. Now this Indian is one of the more difficult motorcycles to ride at low speeds. It's got very poor throttle response, and the bars don't turn very far from lock to lock. You've got to really lean these bikes over to get them to handle well at low speeds. This rider's doing a good job. He has a few problems, but that's what we're here for. But here's what I want you to do. You're going to follow her. So all you got to do is look at her.
Okay.
2 bikes at the same time.
Okay. No,
she's going slower than you. So you better use that clutch, throttle, and brake, otherwise you'll run into her, right? You don't want to run into her, do you?
I don't want to.
Never did anything to you.
I know she didn't.
Now we moved on to the intersection. In this part of the intersection, we're going to do some circles. I had this rider follow the rider in front, the instruction being just look at her, because wherever she is, she needs to be there at that same spot a split second later. Now, the rider in front is going to make a mistake, and because of the instruction I gave the rider behind, she's going to follow right along with the mistake that the rider in front made. That's really not a problem. It's just one of those things that happens. Now watch, she cut herself short, so she goes a little bit long. The rider behind her goes a little bit long as well and crosses that white line. Now here we are at the snowman, what most people find to be the most difficult exercise because there are so many cones. That first circle is 30 feet. That's to the left. The second circle is going to be 26 feet to the right, and the last one 24 feet to the left. If the Sportster had a high center of gravity, she wouldn't be able to do this. It's just a matter of proper clutch control. Clutch, throttle, a little pressure on the rear brake, and turn your head and eyes. You can handle any motorcycle with the ease of a child's toy if you master those 3 techniques.
All kinds of room. Over there. Next circle. Hey, wait. You did it 2 times in a row. You sure you want to push your luck?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
It can't be 2 times. I cannot the third, or the fourth, or the fifth. You have to do it a single time.
All right, after you run it through, line up behind her. But I tell you, you're pushing your luck.